Sweet.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Westmont Village Board meeting for January 7th, 2013. Roll call, please.
Mayor Ron's absent tonight. Mayor Pro Tem Scott.
Here.
The clerk's here. Trustee Emery. Here. Trustee Fleming.
Here.
Trustee Klebanow. Here. Trustee Nero.
Here.
Trustee Seneca. Here. Manager Searle is here.
He's here.
Yeah, he's here. Attorney Zemanek.
Here.
Finance Director Parker. Here. Police Chief Mulhern.
Here.
Development Director Malik. Here. Fire Department Scallon.
Here.
Is anybody else here? I don't know.
Larry.
Larry.
Kaufman.
Larry from the Fire Department.
Okay, everyone, please stand for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's Larry Kaufman, first responder.
Extraordinaire.
Okay, reports. Mayor's left nothing for me. Madam Clerk, have you got anything?
No.
Yes, I did.
Mr. Attorney?
Nothing tonight.
And we'll ask the manager when he gets back. And here he is.
Do we
Here
have
he
an
is.
executive session
Yes,
today?
I'd like to request an executive session for personnel. I'm sorry, for purpose of selection of a person to fill a public office.
I'd also like to request on personnel.
Okay.
Okay. Next on the agenda, items to be removed from the consent agenda. Any? So we'll move on to the consent agenda. I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion to approve, Fleming.
Second, Nero.
Roll call?
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes. Unfinished business. Truck vehicle idling, private property. Board to consider an ordinance regulating truck idling on private property.
Motion to approve, Fleming.
Second, Nero.
Comments or questions?
Mr. Village Attorney, did you adapt, does the new ordinance adopt the chief's suggestion about license plate designation for purposes of delineating the trucks rather than tonnage?
It did so previously.
Oh, I thought it didn't.
We define commercial vehicle in there, vehicle with Class D plates or higher.
higher.
Or a vehicle with appropriated plates, or a vehicle designed to transport 16 or more persons to exclude school buses.
Okay, here's my stupid semantics question. D or higher on the alphabet, is A higher than D or is F higher than D?
D is lower, I'm sorry, A is lower than D, and F is higher than D.
Okay, I'm just checking, because
Congratulations, you're smarter than a fifth grader.
thank you. Maybe not. All right, because I know for purposes of the license plates, it's higher, but if somebody decides to challenge our truck ordinance, just checking.
Any other comments or questions?
The fine information is now in the ordinance that was discussed Thursday night.
Good.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
New business, 15 East Burlington Avenue, Phoenix Nail Spa Special Use. Board to consider an ordinance approving the following requests from Shamron Kang of the Phoenix Nail Spa to allow the operation of a nail salon on the ground floor of the B1 Limited Business District. 1, special use permit. 2, development permit.
Motion to approve, Emery?
Second, Nero.
Separately or as one?
Comments or questions?
No.
It's a single ordinance.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Separate ordinances on the next.
Okay, thanks. Next, 11 West Quincy Street, Westmont Theater, special use and variation request. Board to consider ordinances approving the following requests from Keith Erickson of the Westmont Theater to operate a performing arts studio and live entertainment venue with an associated tavern in a B1 limited business district.
Go ahead.
Okay. 1, special use permit. 2, zoning code variance to reduce the number of required off-street parking stalls and a waiver from the cash in lieu for B1 parking spaces. 3, zoning code variance to permit a tavern within a required 1,000 feet separation of a school. And 4, development permit. These are all separate ordinances.
Before any motions are made for approval, I had asked at Thursday's meeting for some information. So I don't know if we're ready to proceed on a motion until then, to make sure because I had asked the fire department to come up with some information and the applicant. So I would like to hear that before any motion to approve is out.
Well, what I would recommend, so we can have a discussion, is that we get a motion and a second on point A. And then we can have that presentation. If you feel like postponing it, that actually trumps the pending motion, so you can make that motion at that time.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Just quickly, I would like to apologize to any residents that were here that night last Thursday, and to the petitioner. I was stuck in an airport for 7.5 hours trying to get home, but I did watch the meeting, and I took everything into consideration. I just wanted to get that out there.
Well, I think we got an answer, at least to some of the soundproofing.
We did.
With the reply.
It's an email.
That it's going to be subject to our decibels anyway, and it's going to cost them a lot of money. So I understand where they'd like to get an approval before they start spending thousands of dollars just to have this testing done.
I don't know if you saw the revisions to the ordinance, but that's
Yes.
now been taken into account. If that's acceptable to everyone, that you would give your approval, they'd come in with a report. If they meet the decibel level, great. If not, then they'd have to do some additional soundproofing, get an additional report, and in all cases, communicate with community development.
Trustee Emery?
I'd like to hear from the fire department on the questions about code as far as occupancy and ingress, egress. Because my concerns were when we talked about a limit of 300, certainly was, first of all, these people being able to exit in the event of an emergency. The way it's configured now, even I, knowing nothing about the latest edition of the code, can tell you, I know that's not going to be acceptable. You can't get 300 people out that little door. It's not handicapped accessible, which I'm sure the petitioners know it would have to be. The other question is, when I asked about code, and I believe Shannon said, well, it depends on, how it's ultimately configured and all of that. But the trouble is that if it's, the more standing room there is for musical performances, the higher the occupancy. What I don't want is that we end up with a 5,000 square foot venue that has an occupancy of 800, that we never looked at the capacity of that, the parking for that, all of that. So I'd like to hear from the fire department, and in the event there is an occupancy issue, that the ordinance cap occupancy at 300.
Wasn't that in an email where you said?
It's in there.
So it was a suggestion.
Well, I've got, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so that was a suggestion by Shannon when she sent her email on Friday morning. Perhaps we should cap it. And I responded that yes, that's something we legally can do. We can cap it at 300, for example, which is what the applicant suggested was the maximum occupancy that they were looking for. Now, it doesn't mean it will be 300. It may be less than that if they can't meet that occupancy per code. But certainly that would be the maximum. And that would take into account concerns over parking as well as concerns for safety.
I understand that, but I would like to hear that from Mr. Kaufman so that there is never an allegation that what this board did by capping it was not arbitrary, was not capricious. It was based on certain things that came from the fire department. Larry?
Can we have him come forward? Sure. You want to come forward, please?
My name is Larry Kaufman. I'm the acting director of fire prevention for the village of Westmont. I answered some of this in the email. As far as I understand, the ordinance caps that occupancy load at 300 now.
I understand that. What I want is a public record of what could change the occupancy under the fire code, the occupancy limits.
Well-
Because what this board can't do is do things out of the blue and do things out of the air if they're challenged. There's got to be a reason for it. I would like a public record that we are doing this for a reason, and that happens to be public safety.
Well, from a public safety standpoint, the first goal of any fire code is egress of occupants. And specifically, when we're talking about this type of use, it's an assembly use. Even further, you're over a threshold of 300 people, which even makes it more of a issue for the fire code itself. From the briefs, the rudimentary sketches I took a look at, your points of egress are not at all adequate. That is going to be your limiting factor, is the doors themselves, the amount of egress, and situating them so that amount of people can get out of there. Unfortunately, the code is not your friend always when it comes to occupant load, and you know that already. You've touched on that, because in a standing room only occupancy for that amount of square footage, you could be looking at 1,000 people. So typically, and normal common sense says, wait, that doesn't make sense. So typically, as a village, you step back from it and go, okay, how can we limit this so we're safe? And everything has to be taken into account. You can't just say, oh, it's the doors, oh, it's the setup. We have to take everything into account. It's a system. So we look at the sprinkler system, we look at the fire alarm system, we may have to look at smoke control system, we have to look at egress systems. And it's a complicated process, even though it's only a 5,000 square foot venue. So until we have plans, it's hard to say, no, you can't do that. But my recommendation in the village is always to limit occupant load, because when you start talking about that, if they have it standing room only, you don't want 1,000 people there. You can't accommodate it from just the zoning part, from the parking. Okay, so I mean, that's again a part of the code resolution that you have to figure out. So from my standpoint, I can tell you right now, as the code stands, from those sketches, I couldn't approve anything. My occupant load recommendation now is 0 until I see what the actual layout looks, and the doors and the egress and all that.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. And I just want you to verify that one of the items that you sent in an email was that for assembly uses, the fire code's primary concern is egress of patrons. Because of the multi-use proposal, this use would require a significant main entrance that can handle at least 50% of the maximum occupant load, whatever that turns out to be. And that the remaining 50% of the occupant load must be able to exit through all other exits, not including the main exit. So if it's an occupancy load capped at 300, 150 have to get out the front door, the main exit, and the other 150 have to be able to get out any exit but the front door.
Correct.
Okay.
The caveat to that is that it's a sprinkled occupancy. That those numbers go away if the building's not sprinkled.
Right.
Okay, as long as we're on the same page.
No,
there.
we are.
If it's
gotta
not
be
sprinkled, if you go by letter code, you can't even do it. It's not allowable. You'd have to have a variance from the code in that respect.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Larry.
just, I know I think I said this once, but to clarify further, in addition to the life safety reasons that you're concerned about limiting occupancy, Shannon also brought up a reason for limiting occupancy is the parking variance was premised on an occupancy of 300 and roughly 150 cars. If everyone drives and everyone has 2 cars, as stated by the applicant, worst case scenario. So I think on that grounds alone, you'd be justified.
Right, and because the use, and actually the parking is not their parking. They're using a village permitted commuter lot that the village is the one that blacktops and paints and maintains. So this is even letting them use somebody else's parking lot with it capped at 300, so that we,
Can I ask you on this capping, does that include the performers and staff?
300 is people in a
That's what I want to
building.
make sure.
Total
So
people.
we're not talking having 300 guests. If they have 25 people that are the players, the staff, and other people, then you're looking at maybe 275 is the maximum amount of people they can bring into there as guests then. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call on number 1 then?
Are you okay? I mean,
Yeah, with the ordinance caps it at 300. I just wanted to make my record.
And the other conditions that were discussed on Thursday evening are now in the ordinance that I emailed to you. I also emailed a copy to the applicant. I don't think I heard back that anything was out of the ordinary.
Roll call?
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Oh, wait.
Oops.
There was just one thing I emailed back, but it was late in the day.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was tied up.
It was just a question about Section 2.A. It talked about if the place was rented for, to a company or something, and they did not have entertainment, that no alcohol would be allowed. And I know there was some discussion about, company holiday parties, somebody rents it out. Even if they didn't hire a band or something, we would like to be able to offer that as a place for a company party or a wedding reception or something, and not make it mandatory that they have to hire a band in order to have alcoholic beverages. That's
Yeah,
the
I
only.
agree with that.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, we did discuss that, and
Yeah.
I was in favor of it.
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Okay.
As long as it stays with that age, of what
Yes.
the party is.
Age
We
appropriate.
had the Chuck E. Cheese discussion.
And that was it. Everything looked fine to me.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
Okay to do a roll call?
Are you sure?
I don't know.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Number 2.
Motion to approve, Fleming.
Second, Seneca.
Nero.
Or no.
Comments or
kind of-
questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Fleming?
No.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Emery?
What would the cash in lieu be?
I think it's like $140,000 or something. It was a lot. It was a lot.
It does not appear to be in the zoning write-up.
I don't think we've ever waived that many.
We've never had that many.
No, we haven't. That's true.
Because what,
Yeah, I don't have a rough estimate. Do you have the section of code with the,
To know what the price per space is?
Yeah,
price per
that's-
space,
I
like,
think
it's capped at certain levels, so.
yeah,
up
it
to a
starts like
certain
at
threshold,
2,000.
Right.
And then it goes down, and for 300, I think, when they
Yeah,
were
I'm
looking
sorry,
at the
I
other
should have asked this
building.
before, but if we're waiving something that is a fee to the village, I
Yeah.
think the public's entitled to know what it is we're waiving.
Because we're going to have to maintain that area and whatever and take care of it and keep it clean, keep it striped, keep it paved,
Right.
extra wear and tear.
Gonna play the Jeopardy music for a minute?
Can we put the vote on hold on section 2 and go to 3? Is that,
Would that be okay?
is that okay, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay. Number 3, I'll entertain a motion for that one.
Motion to approve, Fleming.
Second, Emery?
Comments or questions on number 3? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes. Number 4.
Motion to approve, Fleming.
Second,
Emery.
Seneca.
Got it.
Comments or questions on number 4? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Now, are we back to Jeopardy music or what?
Almost there.
He's doing a
He's
lot of
figuring it
figuring
out.
here.
It's 20. sorry, $92,250. It's $750 per parking space when it's more than 21 parking spaces. We're waiving 150 parking spaces. But in addition, they've got to pay $500 for the first 3 spaces. I might be a little bit off, I just did that quickly, but it's going to be roughly $90,000 to $92,000.
I think when we put that in place in our wildest dreams, we never expected that we'd have someone asking for 150 parking spaces.
Well, I think we have to look at what other communities are doing to entice people to come to their downtown. That's
right.
Exactly.
And I don't have a
Grover, Woodridge,
problem
they'd be
with
giving
it.
them the farm,
They-
and they're getting them.
Good
I don't
point.
have a problem with it, I just think people are entitled to know
Oh,
that
absolutely.
what it
Absolutely.
would be and what we're waiving.
Yeah.
Without
So if we're
question.
back to the vote, and it's my vote because I asked the question, yes.
Okay, trustee Klebanow?
Wish we could have done a partial waiver. That would have made me feel better. I'm going to say no.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Passes.
We got everybody?
No, I didn't vote yet. Steve
Yes,
didn't.
you did.
Did I?
First two, and then we
What was the vote on that?
segued.
Yeah, I was the third, and I held up the
Oh,
process.
I thought you were the second.
No, I was the third.
Okay,
I thought you were.
number B, motion passes. C, 150 West Ogden Avenue, Automobile Club Chicago, special use and variance requests. Board to consider ordinances approving the following requests from Kenneth Brom of the Automobile Club Chicago to operate an automobile enthusiast center, including automobile service, automobile retail sales of used and new automobiles, in an associated restaurant in the B2 General Business District, with auto sales occurring within 500 feet separation of a residence district. 1 special use permit and 2 zoning code variants.
Motion to approve number 1.
Second.
Comments or questions? Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, it was Ellen and
Me,
Steve. Thank you.
Sorry.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Motion to approve number 2.
Second.
Emery.
Second.
Nero.
Comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca? Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to D, engineering agreement with Thomas Engineering Group LLC. Board to consider an ordinance approving an engineering agreement proposal with Thomas Engineering Group for the Phase 2 engineering design services of the Public Works Water Division Facilities Improvement Project.
Motion to approve Emery.
Second, Nero.
Third, fourth,
Fifth.
fifth, sixth. Just run it right down the line.
One.
Comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
E, revised Village of Westmont Emergency Operations Plan. Board to consider an ordinance approving the revised Village of Westmont Emergency Operations Plan.
Motion to approve Emery.
Second, Seneca.
Comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Anything else to come before the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for,
The selection of a person to fill public office and for personnel.
So moved Emery.
Second, Nero.
roll call?
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
We're adjourned to executive session.